Welcome to the Business Miracles Podcast. I'm Heather Dominick, founder of BusinessMiracles.com. Since 2010, I've been training highly sensitive entrepreneurs and leaders from around the globe to work less while making more impact and income by doing things differently. I'm so glad you've joined me. Listen in and get ready for a shift in the way you view yourself, your work, your life. A Business Miracle. This is A Course in Business Miracles, episode 119, Intuition versus Fear. Every episode of this podcast is important and valuable, in my opinion, but this has to be one of the most important and most valuable. On today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to discern the difference between fear and intuition. You will hear me mention a specific self-inquiry tool that will support you, and to download your personal copy of the self-inquiry tool, go to www.businessmiracles.com/self-inquiry. Again, www.businessmiracles.com/self-inquiry. Enjoy. Take a moment and just journal, jot down, type out for yourself. What do you personally, at this point in time, see as the difference between fear and intuition? How would you describe that difference? And see if you can allow yourself to keep it to one sentence, two at the very, very most. My next question for you is, how do you distinguish the fear versus the intuition? Meaning, how can you tell when you find yourself in a moment and you are maybe considering taking an action and you have a sense about taking or not taking that action? And how do you determine, is that sense coming from a place of fear, or is that sense coming from a place of intuition? Take a moment to reflect on that. Write that down for yourself. How can you tell? How do we discern between fear and intuition? So a few things that I want to share here. So one, when I was originally preparing for this roundtable, it was before everything with COVID-19 came crashing into our lives. And just for giggles, I Googled fear versus intuition. And wouldn't you know that pretty much every coach out there and every coach's mother has a video on YouTube on fear versus intuition. What that said to me is, this is an important topic, right? This is a conversation that a lot of people are wanting to have, because with all of those videos about fear versus intuition, I really see that those of us who are highly sensitive entrepreneurs, and really truly, in my personal opinion, every person currently on the planet is being given the opportunity to step off of the self-help bookshelf and into determined, fierce commitment, real-time engagement and practice. Meaning, it is one thing to talk about fear versus intuition on YouTube in 2007, which I think that was the earliest video I found. versus what it is to be in practice with determining and discerning the difference between the two as we navigate a real global crisis, aka opportunity. So the very simplistic explanation in determining and discerning from an energy training point of view is that the feeling or energy of fear is one of restriction and contraction. And so that is, again, the very base way to describe and discern. The fear has you wanting to pull in and pull back, and intuition will have you wanting to expand and move forward. So then it becomes about, well, when I am faced with making a decision in the face of something that feels fearful, how can I really discern if I am meant to actually pull back from that which is potentially fearful, or if I am meant to expand my experience by being willing to step into the fear? So this is where we then have the opportunity to go a little bit deeper. And this is where I want to speak to how we as a community are different than who the majority of those YouTube videos were made for. And that is because we are highly sensitive. So we go back to the very, again, kind of baseline definition of what it means to be highly sensitive, which is that we experience stimulation at a much higher degree than someone who is not highly sensitive. So that means that we most likely are going to experience the fear that much more intensely. And it also means that we have the opportunity to experience the intuition that much more intensely. But this is where things get complicated. Because when you're discerning the difference between fear and intuition, if you're experiencing all of your intake, which activates emotion at a higher degree, then fear can very easily override the intuition. Now, why is that? That is because fear is socialized, meaning we have been trained to react in fear. Bringing it back to just the basics of being able to learn or being taught how to keep yourself physically safe from an early age. I'm sure all of us had some kind of experience where when we were a young one, we reached our physical hand out towards something that was hot, right? Maybe the stove or a campfire or a tea kettle or, a hot cup of coffee. And someone pulled our hand back, right? Or slapped the hand, maybe even used a sharp tone or a sharp voice, said, no, don't do that. That's dangerous. And some situation similar to that was our first introduction to fear. Fear as a mechanism to discern what will hurt us versus what will help us. Now, again, that's at a very base level, right? It's just plain old human body, physical survival. And that moment, whatever that was for each of us, is just a symbol or a microcosm for all the other ways that those who were our primary caretakers trained us through the lens of fear based on their own personal experiences. Absolutely, we give assumption of positive intent. Everyone was just doing the best that they could. But I can also pretty much guarantee that in the same way all of us had the shared experience of reaching for something hot and being told no and pull your hand back, that most likely we also have the shared experience of not having someone sit us down and say, okay, here we go, little 3-year-old young one. Here's how to use your intuition. So somewhere along the line, we did kind of bumble into our intuition. And it might have been at an earlier age or an older age, just depends. Maybe somewhere along the line, we started hearing language such as, listening to your gut, follow your gut, probably casual conversation, maybe with friends. Later on in life, maybe some of us chose to engage in, energy work and training like I have, or learning from different spiritual teachers, or maybe you picked up a book. But my point being is that the fear teaching and training got a major head start on the intuition. So when you hear me speak about how everything that we do at Business Miracles is a process of retraining, fear versus intuition is absolutely part of that. Because for those of us who are highly sensitive, again, we have the ability to access our emotions and our energy at a much higher level. So intuition is available to us at a higher degree than for someone who's not highly sensitive. It's not that someone who's not highly sensitive isn't intuitive. Of course they are. But they're most likely going to have to kind of swim through more murkiness than those of us who are highly sensitive, where we have the ability to tap in and tune in, plug into that intuition, access that expansion more quickly. As long as we're engaging in the retraining to our response to fear. So let's talk about how we can start to do that. Is this coming from fear or is this coming from intuition? So contracted versus expansive, head versus heart, body, defended or isolated versus connected. So from there, I want to speak about how to engage in ongoing training to support yourself in more easily being able to discern contracted, expanded, head, heart, isolated, connected. And that is the tool of self-inquiry. So let's write that down. The inquiry is what helps to untangle the socialized training. And by that particularly, I mean that every single one of us, we have beliefs or things that we hold to be quote unquote true. But when we sit down and we engage in the inquiry, then we start to detangle from that which is taught and passed down, typically through family of origin, versus accessing truth with a capital T. And to be able to separate that then gives you access to intuition. Because often what we will say, like, oh, well, my intuition is telling me I shouldn't do that. But when we really tease it apart, it's like, well, my mother wouldn't like it if I did it. Or I was taught you don't do that. Or I'm afraid I'm really going to stand out and I'm going to look like a weirdo. Or everyone else is saying this. And then still to be able to say, no, I can truly access deep calmness within my heart. And I know that this is the way to go. I can tell this is not defiance. This is not resistance. This is not denial. I'm truly, truly in a place and a sense of trust. My intuition is telling me.
Thank you for being a part of this Business Miracles podcast episode and for beginning to dip your toe into the journey of highly sensitive leadership training. If you are ready to truly use your sensitivities as strengths in all parts of your work and life, I invite you to connect for a one-on-one chat. You will experience being deeply listened to, and together we'll get a sense of whether the highly sensitive leadership training programs are the best next step for you and your highly sensitive journey at this time. Just go to www.claritycall.com to schedule a conversation. We so look forward to connecting with you. Talk to you soon.